back to the Daily Grind. Thanks for checking out the channel. Make sure to hit subscribe if you're new and hit thumbs up if you're not a baby back bagel biting bitch boy, cause you know what time it is. It's full time.
MMA.
NBA star Michael Carter Williams joined Ariel Helwani on the MMA Hour last Monday, and he talked about how he's actually a big fan of mixed martial arts, and it's one of those crossover interviews where he's not a super diehard fan because clearly he's got so much shit to do. He's a fucking professional basketball player. He's got to train on top of his games, on top of his hectic schedule. You get the fucking point. But in his spare time, he turns out Michael Carter Williams is a super MMA fan. And Ariel Helwani alluded to the fact, hey, if you go check out this guy's Twitter at MC1, you'll see he's always posting, he's posting even about the little cards. He's not even only posting about the big fights. This guy posts about, even the UFC Sydneys and shit like that. So I appreciate that. Anybody that pays attention to more than the fucking pay-per-views is okay with me. With that being said, the meat of the interview came when they started discussing the UFC Fighters Union and Michael Carter Williams. As you know, the NBA has a players union, the NFL has a players union. A lot of these other sports leagues have players unions that demand like 50% of the revenue splits from the TV deals, and the players get certain rights with these unions that they wouldn't be allotted if they didn't have this union because they're not organized. Now and that's one of the biggest, hottest topics that's been in the UFC probably for the last year, ever since the MMAAA came out. It's really been on my mind, even though they fucking came out and went away. I don't know what happened with that. It was looking promising. They had like 5 MMA superstars on deck: TJ Dillashaw, Cain Velasquez, Donald Cowboy Cerrone, and 2 others. Tim Kennedy, I believe, was one, and then one other guy was on the panel. Can't remember who it was, but you get the point. They were all big in the MMA. Oh, Cain Velasquez, I don't know if I said him already. So they had 5 people that were UFC stars, so it was looking like they were going to start doing something with this union. It sounded promising, even though the guy leading the union, Bjorn Rebney, had a little bit of baggage, or a lot of bit of baggage, because he was a former promoter. They still kind of needed him as a necessary evil because he knew how the business worked. Now, and there's not a lot of people that know how the MMA businesses work who have ran successful MMA promotions. So now, with all of that out of the way, Michael Carter Williams said he thinks it's beyond crazy that the UFC fighters don't have a union yet, because he knows some of the benefits that come along with the unions and the protections it provides. And that's a huge topic to me, not even to me, but just because to me it's kind of like it's beyond crazy. As Michael Carter Williams said, it's crazy because before MMA, I was a big fan of the NBA and the NFL, and you hear about the splits, the TV deals and all of the percentages the players are allotted. So then whenever you watch MMA and you hear that they get 0% as compared to 50% in other leagues, it's like, yo, damn, that just sounds atrocious. Even if the UFC is not as big of a company as these other companies, no, they're not making as much money as the NBA or the NFL in total. But they still, when you're talking about revenue percentages, it doesn't matter. Even if let's say that, just a fucking dumbass number to make this easy, let's say the NBA makes $1 billion in the fucking in a year, and MMA, I don't know, fucking 1 million, just to make it easy. It's not about the number, it's about the percentage. We're just talking about the TV deal. So the NFL or NBA, we're just going to say NBA because this is Michael Carter Williams. So the NBA players get 50% of, say, the ESPN money, the Fox money. So that's all split up amongst all the fucking players. That makes their base salaries go up and everything. And that's just part of what a union would provide. Now, I'll talk this video is probably going to go on a little bit longer because I'll talk about the problem with the union MMA and why it's really not happening as compared to these other sports. But back to the number, let's say NBA brings in $1 billion a year in TV revenue, and UFC brings in $1 million a year in TV revenue. Well, the fucking NBA players are getting 50% of that. Fuck the number, they get 50%. Right now, the UFC fighters, even if you don't want to fucking give them 50%, damn, can we get 25%? You know what I'm saying? That's crazy. That's crazy. And of course, I'm not a goddamn union head. I'm not I've never been inside the NBA union shit like that. I'm just a fan looking outside in. But whenever I you listen to the media, the MMA hours, the Ariel Helwanis, the Luke Thomases, all of these guys, and when they tell you, hey, it's pretty fucking crazy that these guys are getting 0%, and when you've seen the other sports, hey, these guys are getting 50%, you know, they're gonna fucking hold out if they don't get their money. Now, why can't that happen for the UFC fighters or for MMA? Because this isn't a team sport. That's one, there's differences. Also, you know, some of these guys are like, hey, why would I, now that I finally got my money, say a Conor McGregor, why am I gonna go you know, fucking put my neck on the line for all of these guys when no one did it for me before? Whenever I was coming up as a fighter, you didn't see the fucking Anderson Silvas and the GSPs reaching down to me. So now it's on me to fucking split up my pie with all of these guys. You know, it's a lot harder to start a union in these individual sports. That's why I don't believe there's a fucking union for boxing. Now, this is I don't know. Now, that's why I'm probably about to stop talking about this subject, because whenever I start getting into places where I don't really know, yeah, I probably need to shut the fuck up. So with that being said, I'm pretty sure there's not a union for boxing. I know there's not one for the UFC or MMA. Michael Carter Williams from the NBA, where they do have a union, is saying it's beyond crazy. He's also a fan of MMA. And I agree. I mean, we've been hearing about this topic for a while now. We've heard about the Randy Couture union he's forming. I don't know the exact name of it. They're going up to Congress and trying to get the Ali Act expanded to MMA. We've heard about a few MMA unions, but something usually happens. It's hard because one of the things in that MMAAA that I actually thought had the most steam, I thought, you know, it's kind of weird because one of the 5 stars in your, you know, that you're coming out with, Donald Cerrone, he's kind of, you know, it's kind of a conflict of interest because we know he's one of the UFC's like favorites. You know, he's kind of, I don't want to say he owes anything to the UFC, but whenever he's got into it with the UFC before, Dana White's brought up the fact that, hey, I've paid for that guy's fucking legal fees out of my own pocket. I've did this for that guy. I've did this for that guy. So it's kind of like, you know, hey, is he gonna just kind of report everything back to Dana? You know what I'm saying? It's really hard in these individual sports because it's every man for themselves. So it's like, hey, I don't want to sacrifice myself for all of these people who don't give a fuck about me. Not to mention, you want me to sacrifice myself for that guy that just knocked me out in fucking TV and talk trash? Or, you know what I'm saying? Like, there's a lot of fucking ego involved in MMA and shit. So I don't know how they're gonna get a union. That's why people probably don't talk about it more often, because where the fuck do you start? It doesn't start with me, a goddamn random guy on YouTube just talking. It doesn't start with Ariel Helwani. Well, I mean, he actually probably started it. These guys do start it. They do speak about it like, hey guys, this is probably a problem. When is fighters gonna do something about it? So I guess it's on the fighters, but then they don't know. They've got to fucking train and fight. So how do they got time to order? They're not no goddamn union organizer. So it's really hard to get the thing off the ground unless you've got a guy like a Bjorn Rebney or the stuff going on with Randy Couture, and I believe Leslie Smith is associated with it. I mean, it's just really hard for these guys, so we'll see what happens, but I do agree with Michael Carter Williams. I believe it's beyond crazy that the UFC fighters don't have a union. You can tell me why you disagree in the comments if you want. It is what it is. Let the full-time family know what the fuck you time at in the comments. I'm out.
Da 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 da. It's the motherfucking DOWG.